What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today I'm going to be sharing and comparing the most important stats of the new Marksman Rifles in Call of Duty Ghosts. Then at the end, I'm going to tell you guys what I consider to be the best Marksman Rifle in the game. If you're interested in the stats of the other weapons, make sure you stay up to date with my channel. I hope to have the rest of the weapon stats uploaded within the next week. Most of these stats were collected and calculated by me personally at launch time, so for those of you that have been keeping up with the Call of Duty Ghosts news and leaks, you'll know that there is a stat chart out there, and I did refer to this while collecting these numbers for myself, but this chart didn't have many of the stats that I'm going to be sharing with you today, and I also didn't necessarily agree with many of the numbers. A lot of them were way off. So I will link it in the description since I did use it as a source, and you can look for yourself, but I wouldn't rely on all of those numbers. So let's kick it off with one of the more important stats, which is the bullets to kill. The first number is the number of bullets it takes to kill at close range, and the second number is the number of bullets it'll take to kill at a long range. As you can see, all of the Marksman Rifles kill in 2 shots up close, but the SVU really stands out in this area because it kills in just 2 shots at any range. Moving on to the next stat, let's cover rate of fire. These values were quite difficult to calculate since these rifles are all semi-automatic, but they were at least all calculated in the exact same way, so they are accurate for comparison's sake. So the 2 Marksman Rifles that stand out in the rate of fire department are the MR28 and the IA2. It's also worth noting that the SVU fires very slow, so you really have to make every shot count. I've noticed when I played with it, I really want to shoot it much faster than it can, and it just has such a low cap on the fire rate, so you really have to make sure you're accurate with the SVU. So independently, the bullets to kill and rate of fire stats mean very little, but put them together and you get possibly the most significant stat for a weapon, and that is the time to kill. In the graph, the first value is the time it takes to kill up close, and the second value is the time it takes to kill at long range. Keep in mind that this also assumes that every single shot hits its target, which we all know isn't the case most of the time, so recoil is definitely another key stat that we're going to be looking at a little bit later in the video with really detailed recoil comparisons. So as you can see, the MR28 and the IA2 are the clear winners for the time to kill up close due to their higher fire rate, and the SVU has the best time to kill at long range because it doesn't have any damage drop off. It kills in 2 shots at any range. Also, a notable mention for time to kill at long range is the IA2, which kills just a little bit slower than the SVU. So moving on, we're going to look at some stats that are a little bit less important, but still very noteworthy. And these are the time it takes for the weapon to aim down sight, the reload time, and the magazine size. For the aim down sight time, there is actually surprisingly a little bit of variance amongst the Marksman Rifles. The MR28 and the IA2 both aim down sight just a little bit faster than the others, and while this may seem like it's a negligible difference at times, it can mean the difference between life and death in certain situations. Moving on to reload time, I calculate this with reload cancelling in mind. So my reload times are measured from when the animation starts to when the bullets appear in the gun and are actually ready to use. I don't calculate that extra animation at the end that can be cancelled out. So clearly the MR28 wins in this category with a reload time of just 1.45 seconds. For magazine size, once again the MR28 comes out on top at 24 rounds over the 18 rounds that all of the other ones have. But keep in mind you'll likely need these extra rounds because this rifle takes more shots to kill at longer ranges when you compare them to the other Marksman Rifles. So now our chart is almost complete, but we still have one of the most important things to look at, and that is the recoil. So we're going to move on to a detailed recoil comparison. I want to point out that every magazine will give you a little bit of deviation in recoil, so I shot 3 magazines for each gun, and for the graph I'll select the pattern that most accurately represents the average of that gun, to give you guys the best comparison possible. So the first thing you'll probably notice is there isn't a ton of recoil on any of these rifles. They are all quite accurate. The MR28 has the most spread in recoil, but that's just mainly due to its higher fire rate. The MK14 and the SVU are both extremely accurate because of their extremely low fire rate, and the IA2 kicks up quite a bit, but the recoil is pretty much straight up, and therefore it's very predictable. So one last thing to consider before deciding which Marksman Rifle is the best is the unique characteristics and add-ons for each of the rifles. And as you can see, the only real unique characteristic is the MR28 has an integrated foregrip for increased accuracy. Now, before I get into the best marksman rifle in Ghosts, I just want to give you guys a quick reminder to like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this from me. Okay, so now that we've got that little bit over with, let's answer the big question. What is the best marksman rifle and arguably the best gun in Call of Duty Ghosts? In my opinion, the marksman rifle that comes out on top is the MR28. It may not be your best marksman rifle at really long range, but in every other area it really shines, and it's the best all around, followed closely by the IA2. That is definitely the second place one for me personally. Now, before you blindly follow my opinion, which is based almost solely on stats at this point, since the game did just release and I don't actually have a ton of in-game experience with every one of these rifles, I encourage you all to try out and actually put some time into each and every one of these weapons. Sometimes the gun that is statistically the best or the best gun for somebody else isn't going to be the best gun for you, so make sure you try all of them out. So that's all I have for this weapon breakdown. In tomorrow's episode, I'll be covering all of the assault rifles in Call of Duty Ghosts, so make sure you stay tuned for that. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you guys next time.